we want to build an ecosystem. And not just an ecosystem, but we want to make sure people of the land become the brand in themselves.
Welcome to Life 101. Today I have a really special guest with me, Mr. Lichan Humtsoe. You might know him for his brand that he has created, known as Ete Coffee. But today on the podcast, we'll be discussing more on his view about what he thinks about entrepreneurship. And one important topic that I wanted to touch today with him was importance of employee in an organization. If you want to learn more, stay tuned. Hi, thank you so much, Lichan, for being a part of today's podcast.
Thank you.
So, you are the man behind I'll say one of the main reason behind the revolutionary coffee culture in Nagaland. Would you want to speak more on that? As in how you started, such a big brand, and I'm sure it will not be easy to create a brand like this and to create a market for yourself. How did it start?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it's not just me. There are people who are also behind this entire revolution. But yes, when it comes to me, we happen to be the first specialty coffee roasting company in Northeast, and we run the first coffee school in Northeast. And when it comes to specialty coffee, it's pretty new, even nationally, which is why whoever is in the coffee industry right now happen to be pioneers. So for sure, like it's a huge responsibility. But when I first got into it, really, I it's not like I had a romance over coffee, and I mean I don't have any such dramatic entry. What drove me into this was the fact that this coffee can be a medium to really bring about change in the narrative of a lot of things in our society, in terms of our idea of employment. So, and also. Maybe a part of me is the patriotism. I'm a hardcore patriot. And I used to be, honestly, that used to come from a negative space. Vengeance, anger, frustration, all of that. That's a Naga, to be honest. But in 2016, I was inspired by the word that says, normally justice for human means you make them pay for exact same what they've done to you. But in the eyes of God, more love and more sacrifice. And when I got the whole concept of justice, I was like, then how best I can love people who oppress me, bless them. But then I realized we've got nothing to bless others, because Naga as a society, yes, we are relatively new civilization when it comes to the modern world. But really, nothing was there in the private sector. And so this was really bothering me. So there was a lot of things that was going on that got me into this. But if I am to be technical and to be exact, it was like I just got married, and I just left my day job with the government. And I was doing photography in my term pretty well, financially, network. So I decided to move in full time into photography. That was like months after I got married. But again, I decided to leave that too. It was my friend Apem who one day came and gave me a very idiotic idea, like, you're doing coffee and you know so much, why didn't you turn it into business? And I'm like, do you even know what you're saying? Like, I don't know. And I have no idea what he was saying, but I'm like, yeah. So I was also an idiot. I just took up the idiotic idea, and without really knowing, it's a totally uncharted waters for me. But one thing that I was clear, it was this coffee thing can bring about change right from the farm. So farmers, curing people, people who work in the process chain, that's what I mean. Transport people, roasting, value addition sector in that sense. And then even in the hospitality, hotels, restaurants, cafes, and there are ripple effect that goes into this. So that means this can really boost, if not revolutionize, our state's or nation's economy. And so that's when I decided, then I'm leaving photography as well, and I'll get full-time into this. So there's a lot of stories, but to cut short, I'll keep it there for now. Yeah.
And what I love about you and the brand is because you care for your people. even the 5 objectives that you have for Ete Coffee. When I read those, I had so much hope for our youths here, because even if there are more Lichan in the process, who thinks that employees should be given the priority, because you understand, they are giving so much to build a brand with you, along with you. So, would you want to speak more on the 5 objectives that you have?
All right, yeah, sure. This 5 objective, which is also what we call the 5 justices.
Yeah.
These are the driving force for our company, our business, Ete Coffee. It stemmed out actually from justice. Justice at cup is our tagline. So how do you seek justice? So here is these 5 thematic areas where we seek justice. So let me start off with number 1. Number 1 is our resources. So we are living in a land full of opportunity, and you just throw anything, it just grows.
Yeah.
But then it is really up to us whether we will optimize these resources and bring about more benefits, profit out of this, or we can even exploit it. And especially when it comes to coffee, India as a whole went through that whole event where for about 2 centuries, coffee was centralized, only to be sold as a raw material at a cheap price to the Europeans, and they will do the value addition, package it, and sell back to us at a very high price, or even exorbitant in some cases. So to me, I thought if we really want to seek justice with the resources we have, then we should foster and make sure the value addition sector is always promoted. So that's our way of saying we will seek justice by optimizing the benefit of these resources we have. So if we do value addition, our profit goes 10 times. If we get into brewing and cafes, then it's 100 times. And the good news is it's not the owner who gets everything. It's in the process chain, whoever the stakeholders, every single stakeholders from farm to cup benefits from out of this. So then why not we optimize this value and first enjoy the benefit of it, and if we have surplus, then only we start thinking about the other resources means. So there are a lot of things, but this is one of the examples that I can give it to you, that we will make sure we seek justice even with the way we manage our resources. And then the next justice is our employees. So there are a lot of factors, again, that comes into this when I say, how do we seek justice to our employees? Number 1, obviously, is in a lot of hospitality sector, you would find that people from anywhere 18 to 25 to 30, they're involved. And that's the best time of their lives. And they are invested in random businesses. And if we as owners, if we don't pay them well, then they would not have any savings after their retirement for about 10 to 15 years. They are now no more productive as when they are young, especially as a waiter, as a waitress. I'm talking about those profiles especially. So then we scrap everything out of their lives, the best part of their life, and leave them with literally nothing. And it starts from there. So paying them honorably and sustainably is where it starts. And then comes also, the whole thing about in Nagaland especially, the craze for government job. There are a lot of factors, but one that contributes to this is also because we don't have a social status. There's a complete displacement of the social status in terms of the way we earn. So I always give this example of how if you are with your cousins, eat out, imagine any place. And the person who says like, it's on me, is generally the government employee because he gets better salary or she gets better salary. So what if we reverse that? You pay the private sectors really well, that one day they are the one who make the call, and they're like, people around them are like, who is this? What does he do? Where does he work? And it's like private employee. Oh, really? So then directly, indirectly, there will be a change, like social repositioning. And this will start playing in the minds of people that even private sectors do well.
Which is very important.
Exactly.
Very important.
Right. So instead of like shouting a slogan or preaching the whole idea of like, don't go for government job, go for private sectors, I think it starts from small things like that that will really change the mindset. We don't change mindset to change the mindset. We'll have to do something that will inspire people to change mindset. So this is also one of the real agenda behind this. So we say we want to make sure we change the narrative of employment, and also we pay them honorably and sustainably. So this is our way of saying seeking justice to our employee. And so in a context like Nagaland, some 6 years back, for a sweeper or a waiter, waitress to be paid 10,000, it's a lot even now, but more so back then. So we decided that nothing less than 10,000 salary in our business, in our company, in Idea Coffee. Yeah. And then the third is our education. So when I say education, I happen to do a research paper on employability of youth in Mumbai, actually. And I studied a little bit about Finland and Sydney. And what I learned about our education system is that it was designed, it might not sound very objective, but it was designed almost 200 years back by the Britishers. And the whole system was built to bring up more and more clerks. And today, thankfully, I'm grateful to our education system. They're bringing about a lot of, revival or change in the curriculum. So I'm happy we're headed to the right direction. Good things are happening, but at least till our time. You are a graduate, you are a master's. I did microbiology, I did social work studies, all that, but they're literally useless. I'm not employable directly. Yeah, so if you want to make people employable, then we'll have to share an education that will really empower them to straight away get a job or start their own businesses or startups. So that's when we decided to have this 10% of our proceeds. We would save it up, and that money is accrued to sponsor people to get skills trainings, and what we call employability of youth fund. So this we have sponsored about 19 individuals to get trained, so that these people can be directly employed, and more to come. We only pray that we have more revenue coming in, so that we will invest more on people who are really into skills training. So it's our way of saying we will seek justice in the way we deal with our education system that is presented to us, and it's our prayer one day that. And NBSE, if anyone is watching this podcast from NBSE and from the government policymaking level, I would really encourage that maybe even coffee can be part of our high school curriculum, so that when they are graduate, when they matriculate, they will have an idea of what it looks like in the coffee industry, because it's a huge industry. It's a $1 billion industry. India have made a mark of $1.4 billion last year, 2021, 2022. In terms of export, what if we also get into value addition, start companies? I can only imagine it will be trillion or zillion dollar company in this market. And so that's when courses like this can always be incorporated. Yeah, so that's our way of saying seeking justice to the government, the education system. And the next one being the farmers. And this is the most important part, because farmers or the growers form the integral part of this entire coffee spectrum in the coffee industry. And it'll be sad if we don't give them due share. And so this is when we say we will make sure we seek justice for our farmers. But how? So we came up with this network called EML network, Educate, Motivate, and Lead Them. And so under this program, we run coffee lab services. This year, we have 47 farmers who have submitted their raw coffee beans, and we are trying to work together with them, right from the processing, drying, roasting, cupping, and what best we can do for the next year. So we have formatted a protocol using a specialty coffee association protocol on how to even do grading, screening your coffee. So the goal is, yes, we want to buy as a roaster, but they don't have to. We want to make sure we follow this up for next 5 years. And once the coffee becomes market ready, they can go and sell it to anyone. So the goal is basically to help the farmers attain good quality coffee, because good quality coffee comes, one is inherent natural ability in terms of the genetic construct, species, varietal, and terroir, the place where you have planted your coffee and all that. But on the other hand is your human effort. So in terms of how we groom them, topping, tanning, and blocking, harvesting, processing. So at least the human part, we want to make sure we get it right, and obviously parallel. So that is one. We want to make sure our coffee quality is really good from the farm level. But again, when we say justice, it's also saying that we will make sure there is no form of exploitation, not even from us.
Which is very important.
Yeah, because possibly these are roasters like us could also exploit them, because our growers, a lot of growers these days are really smart. They have their own networks. I'm really happy that elite group is getting into farming as well, but the marginalized farmer, the illiterate farmers, they end their world with the roasters, with people like us. So if we say the coffee price have dropped, we can't pay you, we're gonna pay you only 40 rupees, 50 rupees, they will believe us. And so we are like, no, don't even believe us. We want to empower you, educate and sensitize in a manner where they will have their own informed decisions to make, whether to sell it to us, to others. And nobody should decide for them whether the coffee is good or bad. Meaning they also have to invest time on learning, educating, training, to even score their coffee. And so this overall market linkages, pricing to ascertain the quality of your coffee, and this combined effort is called educate, motivate, and lead network. Yeah.
Which is very important.
Right, absolutely. So that is our fourth and most important, one of the most important justice we seek. And the last one, but not the least, it's the cup. So how do you find justice in the cup? On a smaller scale, I can tell you, if 6 years back, if you had come to our coffee shop, you would often notice people walking away saying that the coffee is too cold, because we are never used to drinking 70-degree cup of coffee. We are like scalding, piping hot, thanks to the novelist and the Hollywood movie, for pulling up the burning carafe from the heating plate, steaming. But novelists were actually trying to paint a picture of the warmth, the ambient, but we literally took it, that it has to be burning, it's steaming, scalding. So technically, it's not that way, actually. So when we started to understand from the how coffee should be done scientifically, especially using an SCA protocols, then you realize milk has to be 70 degrees, 80 degrees at the most. Black coffees are normally like that. You never boil coffee. There are some people who experiment, that's a different thing, but most cases you don't boil coffee. So in the first few years, we had customers complaining. They even would walk away angrily, and then we are so sure that these people are not going to come back, which means we are losing money. And in business, that's a bad thing. Customer is the king. You have to do whatever they have to do. And the problem is, if you keep doing what they keep asking, and we are pioneering Naga as a society. India as a whole, coffee is new, except for South India. But in South India has been drinking with chicory filters. So again, this whole new specialty coffee thing is totally new for all of us, and more so for our non-traditional coffee regions like Nagaland. Whatever we serve today will be taken as the coffee. So if you do the coffee wrong, down the generations, people will think that that's how coffee should be. If you do it right, so likewise. And so it's a huge responsibility for us as entrepreneurs or as people in the coffee industry to understand that it's not only about earning money now, but what you're going to bring about in the long run. If it's safe to say, America have messed it up in terms of coffee. Burn it, roast it, char it, and that's good coffee. And today, if you don't see that, a lot of people think that it's a bad coffee. It has to be charred. I'm not saying it's not enjoyable. Even burn or roasted dark roast coffee, they are really enjoyable. But not everything that you like and is addicted to is a good thing. Otherwise, drugs and other things will be, can you relate?
Yeah.
So not everything that you are addicted to and attracted to and you like is a right way to do.
Yeah.
Just like how not everything that is legal is right. So this is a huge responsibility for us.
Yeah.
So then we are like, no matter what, even if it means losing money, we will do what is right. So we seek justice. On the larger scale, if you want to see a nation grow, in my mind, you have to invest in machines that doesn't make money. There are machines that straight away churns out money. In a coffee industry, simply put, espresso machine churns out money. Roasting machine churns out money. But if you are into equipments like Actron, density meter, moisture meter, refractor meter, all of these small equipments that you use in the laboratory, coffee laboratory, they don't churn out money directly.
Yeah.
But if, yes, and then these are the ones actually that decides the quality of your coffee. So if a nation must grow, they ought to invest on those research, R&D, machines and equipments that will only make sure that quality is in place, rather than rushing to churn out money, because in the long run, once people get to know that you lack quality, it's going to be hard to undo that idea that these people do bad coffee. So this is a huge responsibility, and hence we thought we will seek justice in every single cup we serve. Yeah. So it's a 5 justice.
Yeah, and like I said, when I saw the 5 justice of yours or your 5 objectives, I saw so much hope for our people here, because if there are more entrepreneurs who thinks the same way like you, because you're not thinking about profit right away, you're thinking about the growth of every individual that is associated with you. Start from the raw materials to the person who is serving the coffee, which is really important. And I see a entrepreneurship craze growing in our youth today, which is good, which might bring in innovation in businesses, that might just be so good for our future. But I'm also scared in a way, because entrepreneurship is not everybody's cup of coffee.
Okay,
yeah, because
Right.
it comes with a lot of responsibility. Like you said, employees has to be taken care of. Just because you started a business and you're giving them salary, it doesn't end there. You have to think about their personal growth, their professional growth. You think about so many other factors also. Like you said, it's your way of giving back justice, and that's your way of providing back to your people who are associated with you, helping you build your brand. So. What do you have to say on this? Like, entrepreneurship is not everybody's cup of coffee.
Yeah, I mean, we're no experts to be talking on
This
this.
is a normal conversation.
But I sure have a lot of things to say from my own perspective too. I think human being, we are designed to be always like, we are designed in a way that we cannot stay in monotony. So there are certain patterns, and if it gets monotonous, human being, we tend to appreciate disruption. And by disruption, I mean not like negative disruption, but something that changes from the normal activity and refreshes you. So it's like in the world of work, in our context, back then Nagas were all agriculturists, or if not farmers. And people who got to work in the office, do nothing, sit there whole day and get salary and better returns, they thought, wow, that is refreshing, that sounds attractive. But today, once you start working in the corporate world, sitting in the office or in the government sector, sitting in the office whole day, your nerves are breaking down, your bones are now weakening, you lack the physical activity, and so lifestyle-related issues, diseases like blood pressure, this, that, and then you're like, every once in a while, you wish actually you have a farm where you can go do some physical work. So in short, it's not about which one is better. Entrepreneurship is better, government is better, corporate is better. It's about breaking the monotony. And so, and I'm looking at this from the entire perspective of the Naga society, from where we came 6-7 decades back to now. So there was a craze for government job for sure. And then, the hangover is still there, to a point where the hangover is like massive. It's a scary thing. And now suddenly this entrepreneurship thing came. So, like I said, it might not necessarily be that the entrepreneurship is better in the government sector, but it surely sounds breaking the monotony. We don't realize that in my mind, obliviously, it's happening somewhere around there. And so, everybody who gets into entrepreneurship feels like we're the hero right now, including me. It is wrong to say that way too. And a lot of people think that I'll be against government sector, by the way. People think that way, but really it's not about that. After 6 years of me getting into the entrepreneurship, I've also realized that it's not really that way. So having said that, entrepreneurship craze that's going on now, I think a lot of people is trying to boil down the whole entrepreneurship down to some petty businesses. Like you start doing some small street business and you start calling it an entrepreneurship, or even perhaps even as an entrepreneur. Now, I'm not talking about those small businesses like selling chai or momo chow who have a great vision and model the business in a way that they can upscale it to $1 billion company. I'm not talking about those. But there are businesses, surely, they just go and start some small grocery store and have no idea what's going on, no vision whatsoever, no strategy, no model that will help you scale up your business, but just call yourself entrepreneur or call it entrepreneurship. So sometimes we confuse ourselves with livelihood activity and business activity in the sense of entrepreneurship too. So if we really go back to the word of entrepreneur, I'm no expert in language, but Latin, if I'm not wrong, preneur comes from Latin that means to take. And entrepreneur is a old French that says to undertake. So it means it is not actually a noun, it's a verb, it's an action. And to undertake is different from partake. So most of us are partaking in the trend that is going on and not really undertake. Because in my mind, undertake will also mean that you swear in. It's very ceremonial actually. It's like you need to have visions, you need to have certain direction. And so when we talk about entrepreneurship, we need to understand, is it what I'm doing, is it even an entrepreneurship or just a livelihood activity? Right? So now on overall, the entire craze for entrepreneurship, I'm not saying it is wrong, that's how it should be, but if that's not your calling, just because it sounds good, just because it's trending, we don't have to be there. Everybody is called differently in different areas. So yeah, I think I look at it that way.
Yeah, and it's very true also. That's what I try to bring out from my podcast is that in a society, we all have certain parts to play. Not if everybody becomes an entrepreneur, there are other sectors that are failing. We equally need government sector coming up. We need people who are having their own business. Now we also need people who are working for those businesses. We also need skilled laborers in terms of plumbers and all that. So we have to understand what we really want. So that we can contribute our bit to our society. Now, entrepreneurship, why I said is not everybody's cup of coffee, is because it comes with a lot of responsibility towards your society, responsibility. Now, I think we didn't realize it for so long. That's why businesses or entrepreneurship, people take it negatively. In our society, when we say private sector, people think it's not reliable. I'm so happy that we have models like yours, wherein all this are taken care of, and you are slowly bringing in a change in people's perspective, people's mind. And if we have more people like you who has businesses that thinks this way, our youths may not even have to go out to see what corporate sector really is, because it's right there. You have your human resource, and the best part is you know how to delegate work. And when you know how to delegate work, there is growth for that employee in that organization, which is really important. Now, how do you take care for growth of your employees in the organization?
To that question, I think I'll just start off from how I first started. When I first started, I was so focused on my domain knowledge because I was so focused on the idea of excellence. I need to know everything about coffee. So I literally was reading, studying, practicing, eat, sleep, drink coffee. And I thought that will really push my business forward. And even the idea that, if I if I put a smile on the customer's face, it doesn't matter even if I don't get paid. But somewhere down the line, 3.5 years, I realized you might be having a great vision, a burden for people, but if you don't make money, it's going to be very tricky. You can't keep up with the passion, the vision. And then that was the time I realized, in order to drive this business, I need to have sets of skills, what I call the business behind this business that will drive this business forward. And so I started studying about the different departments. That was the first time we started creating different departments, like marketing. I didn't even can you believe it? I didn't even know the difference between sales and marketing. I was selling while marketing. I was marketing while selling. You meet a girl for the first time and you start talking about a wedding date. Or you've been dating a girl and it's time to get married and you're like, hi, how may I know you? You know, so we start selling in marketing, we start marketing in sale. I had no idea. So when I started breaking them down to all these departments and how I can down to the micro level, how to build a mechanism and system to what I call, to a management system in short, to autopilot, in other words. So that was a time when I realized the importance of delegating the work, building a mechanism that will help drive this business. But then the mechanism alone, and a system that is being put alone doesn't drive this whole thing. We surely have to do as a leader of the business, you need to be invested in the lives of these employees. So spend hours and hours on mentorship, pep talk, revisiting the vision and why are you even here? How can we best help our society? All of that. Because the whole idea of why we started this is also to inspire each other, to encourage each other. 6 years down the line, we have not taken any help from the government, not because we don't need help or we don't want, but because we keep hearing from people that without the help of the government, we can't do anything in Nagaland. I'm like, no, I think it's possible. So we will do something on our own without the help of the government. And so we have this social drive going on, and for that same reason, we try to push the vision among ourselves and encourage each other. But then that was not enough. And so we started to, look into the welfare of our team in terms of even work. But more so, we have this now set target every month that we have what we call SDA, Staff Developmental Activities. And that's when it's not an appraisal, it's not a time to scold them and point out mistakes, but this is a time for us to express our views, it's the time for us to encourage each other. And that has been really helpful. And one major step that we did on this move is this year we are on a mission to train our staff, our team, how to leave the company. So we are training in terms of even technical and even mentoring in a way that if you leave this company and go and start your business, how best can you start? What can be the transition? So when a lot of businesses are scared of attrition rate, we are pushing our people here, our team here, that if you are finding a little bit of a misfit here, then don't waste your time here, don't get stuck here. Because the whole idea of in the first place was to help our people. And if we can't help our own team, then we are hypocritical in that sense. So we are like, so even as we say that, some of us are like, no, we're going to stay and do what we can and climb the ladder, perhaps even technically speaking. But if there's anyone out here who have a passion to go out there and be on their own, we are here. So this year, Ethic Coffee is committed to train people how to live. So that when people leave, it doesn't have to be out of anger and vengeance. But when they start a business, they should be able to invite our senior team to go and cut ribbon and things like that. So when we do that, I think people get so much freedom. We used to be like, if you want to work with us, it has to be long term. But the moment we say you can leave anytime, there's so much freedom. Who doesn't love freedom? So instead of leaving, they want to stay more and more. So ever since we started 5 years, our oldest one is like 5.5 years employee, he's still there.
Like after hearing you, what I realized and I'm so happy about is you had your base so strong. That's why many people are scared to train their employees. One, because they think that they have to do it themselves. Second, they don't know how to train their employees. And third, people are scared. If I train them,
Fully well,
they
they will
will,
run away.
yeah, they will
Yeah.
become my competitor.
Right.
But since your principle is so strong, your base is so strong, because you have done your research and development, you understand, you cannot force people. And when you force people and you're not keeping them happy, now happy is not always salary. It's the environment. When you give them freedom to speech, express, people want to bring in more to the table. They are not confined to, this is my job, I'll just do this and go back. When you give them freedom, you give them the chance to speak. They are thinking more about how to make your business grow rather than just doing their job, which is really
win-win.
important.
It's
Yeah,
win-win.
it's a win-win
Sure.
situation. I mean, it's so good to see all this here happening here. I mean, outside corporates do work like this. They understand how important employees are, because it's not about the infrastructure. Sometimes it's the people who are running, because these are the people who are representing your brand, and it's so important to keep them happy. And make sure that if they are not okay, to understand that they might be looking growth at the very end, and if they are leaving, there might be a reason. So I mean, it's so good to see this. Now, what are the future plans, if you're okay speaking about it?
So I think we can just carry forward that conversation. Why do we train our staff to leave? And then, so when you ask me the future plan, I see it in two different ways. One is obviously my business, but also on the bigger picture. Because it's a counterintuitive to think that you're going to train your staff to leave. Another thing that we're doing right now, it's 1.5 years now, we've been training our competitors, meaning in the coffee industry, we're training people to start a roastery, we're training the other cafes to compete with our cafes. So a lot of questions are being asked, why do you train your competitor? And so let me start off with this vision of the coffee and my personal vision as well, that we want to build an ecosystem, and not just an ecosystem, but we want to make sure people of the land become the brand in themselves. Let's say coffee. If Naga coffee is really famous, it becomes so great, chances are it's one Italian, one European who come and use our Naga coffee and make it really great, where our people have nothing to benefit out of it. So then, promoting Naga coffee alone is not enough. It should be the people of that land who is growing that coffee, become the brand, the face of the industry. And I can only think of an example like Swiss. If you are a Swiss, born from a Swiss family, by virtue of you being born from a Swiss family, you make watch. What does it mean? Your business can't do well. If you're a Japanese and you're doing electronics, I'm going to buy from you. If you're a German and you're making a car, I'm going to buy a car from you. So, meaning to say, these people have made the brand in itself. You go to a French restaurant, a French chef serving a French food, and you're like, done. Doesn't matter what is written on the brand name. So what it means is, if we make sure we are invested in the people itself, one day, 100 years from now, Nagas will be looked at by the world as those people who does excellent coffee. And so after 100 years, 50 years from now, let's say, anyone who is born from a Naga family will be inheriting this multi-million-dollar company, just like that, because they are revered as likewise. And I'm sorry to say this, but look at China. Made in China has brought in that kind of skepticism. That is what the first generation Chinese have done for the new generation. Today, Chinese, they're making excellent products, amazing products. But people are going to take another 100 years to erase the idea that Chinese do bad products. So we've been pioneering, all of us, literally all of us, podcast or coffee in our case, or music, whatever, educators, administrators, planners, policymakers, all of us are pioneers. And so what we create today is going to have an impact down the generations. So for me, that is something really serious for me. And so my vision actually is driven on that line too. So that's the reason why we keep investing on our people. When people tourists walk into Kohima, and they would be like, where is that cafe where we get excellent coffee? Instead, go to any cafe run by any Nagas, by a Naga barista serving Naga coffee, and that's it. And when that happens, we wouldn't have to fight among each other, all of us locals here, because the fear is mostly that small little customer we have in Kohima, we are snatching away from each other. And when my business is threatened, I start bad-mouthing about other cafe. And some people come to us and say and they will tell you, Neha, like your cafe, I like it because other cafes are like this, like this, like this. And they didn't tell you why they like your cafe. Meaning, in order to put you in the good, doing well position, we want to make sure others are not doing well. This is a very wrong ideology we are trying to impress on ourselves. So once we have come out of this scarcity mindset and build on the people as the brand, we won't be fighting for Indian customers. We'll be having these customers from all over the world fly into our state or Kohima, and money will fly from outside. And when that happens, each of us possibly have a chance of becoming millionaires without having to even buy from each other. So this is what drives me crazy. And this is the reason why when I say I want the people to be the brand, and I have to do something. And the first thing is I'm going to train, meaning with whatever we know, want to make sure each of us do excellent coffee. And so, not an exception, even my own team, if they want to go and start a cafe or do anything on that line, we want to make sure we train them, we invest in their lives too. So other than that, left to my business, obviously, currently, we are not rushing in terms of cafes, but we want to invest more of our resources in the school that we have been running. We have finished 19 batches and trained 97 individuals. And so we want to invest more on the school, want to invest more on our coffee lab services, because I believe this is what will make our nation great. This is what our Naga coffee great. This is what that will make this coffee industry in Nagaland great. And perhaps it will even boost the nation's economy one day. So ours is in a small way, but the idea is if I can trigger and encourage someone who also kind of go and do the similar thing in a bigger scale, how beautiful that will be. Because I'm so hurt to see that Niti Aayog's 2022 innovation index shows that Nagaland is at the bottom. And it's not like we are the least. It's like we don't have a doll, right? We don't have a doll. If there's another column, they will put out of the column and put elsewhere. We put in the last. And it's all because maybe we are so crazy after the job, government job, if a dull private job, and which is great. And then the next generation is now getting into startups, which is great. But a startup, like we earlier mentioned, we are getting this whole startups and entrepreneurship in a wrong context. We are thinking of a livelihood. We are thinking of some petty businesses without any future plans and idea of scaling it up. So we should be invested in this area. So this is like a vision currently for our business, for A Day Coffee.
Yeah, I think you are an example. And why I say this is because you were not looking at short-term goals. You already had your vision, which is your ulterior goals. You already knew that you had to bring in money, which is important to sustain, but you also knew that it is not only the money, it is actually uplifting the whole society with your brand. I mean, if people begin to think that way, I think because Nagaland has a lot of potential. Our youths, they have a lot of potential. I see so many creative minds, but it's important that they start thinking that way. Money should be important, yes, because eventually you'll have to pay off the employees and all that. It's important, but your vision, the long-term vision, should be something that, because you should see yourself as an influencer, because you are helping the society as a whole also. It's like a revolution. I should say entrepreneurship is like a revolution, because in any business that you're doing, you'll have to first understand the market. It's so good to know that you knew about marketing and sales and concepts like this, because I know many businesses here. It makes me so sad because they don't know about marketing. They don't know about what the customer needs. Many people are just focused about them bringing something and selling it. People are not focused that there is customer also, you have to read their minds. That's another subject to talk about.
Sure.
But it's so happy. I'm so happy seeing that you do understand all this principle, and like I said, you are a good example for other people to at least learn. So
That being said, we are learners as well.
yeah,
We
yeah.
just started
You're also
to
learning
understand.
on your way.
Not that we have
Yeah.
accomplished, no. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you for encouraging.
Yeah, yeah.
Sure.
I mean, this is a positive sign, and like I said, I'm so hopeful for our future youths to come. Is there any message that you would like to give to our listeners who are there, especially the youth listeners?
I mean, I don't have anything as such. I mean, if I have to, then it will just go on and on.
Yeah.
But since now that we are talking about entrepreneurship and more so with the current youth scenario, I mean, I would surely say that if we need to be invested in ourselves, we are lazy readers. Naga as a whole, we are so lazy in terms of even getting down to the foundation. And from my own experience in life, that I was pretending to be a great rock star for 13 years as a songwriter with long hair and rubber bangles and things like that. Only when I went for music training, I figured that I don't know staff notation, I don't know pentatonic, all of this foundation in music, I was lacking. And so from there, I've also learned my own share of experiences of failures, where we have been fooling ourselves. We've been thinking outside the box, and we didn't know what is inside the box ourselves. And so this is why I would encourage our young Naga generation, like me and younger than me, to not to be shallow, but to delve real deep into what we do. It's not a matter of which line of business you will get in. It's a matter of, in my mind, how deep we can delve into it and bring out the best out of it. So, in short, research. Research and research and research. So it's not like some great philosophical message as such, but research. And if you may allow me to, if this is going to be the end of the conversation, when I say this one, research, you earlier mentioned about how our people here, we are very creative. Super creative, yes. And the whole nation India is looking at us, Northeast, especially even Nagaland in particular, that we are super creative. And maybe with the way we dress, we put on, pretty much everything we do in style, all of us here. But then one thing that I realized was we don't know how to monetize it, materialize it, meaning we lack the innovation. We don't know how to innovate an idea into reality. And then what is this innovation? And I figured for myself that innovation is that small, little, boring, mundane job that we keep doing over and over and over again. Not so prestigious thing. Even if it means manual work, even if it means you as a CEO carrying stuff, even if it means that way, we'll have to keep doing what we have to do. Yeah. And once we reach that point of excellence, I think the creativity just pops up. So we are creative, so let's not fool ourselves by staying in that pedestal that we are creative people and somehow things will just happen because we are creative. Instead, let's get down to the dirty manual work, meaning in the sense, not like sweeping and all that. Don't waste your time as a CEO doing that, but I mean to say, if you're running a company, you have to invest on casting your vision, working on remodeling your business, learn anything, bookkeeping or anything. I'm there. I'm not there yet, but I just started learning all the small little things that will drive my business. And obviously, my domain area, coffee, for instance. So it's not that I am an accomplished person in that sense, but I want to encourage all of us that this is maybe somehow will get us there. And so let's not fool ourselves to think that we are super creative people. Yes, we are creative, but now find ways to innovate it. So that will be my message for myself, my friends, all of us here in Nagaland.
Yeah. Before we wrap it up, I want people to know the other side of you, other than you being so much into coffee.
Okay.
What is Lichan like in personal life?
I I love my family. I spend a good amount of time with my family for sure. I have a son and a daughter. My daughter talks, so we just always have fun chit-chatting, learning so much from my family, my wife. Then when it comes to me, personal, I love men's classic fashion, especially the Napolitano way. So, I just love exploring that side of it. Simple reason was because, it pains my heart to see a wedding groom wearing the suit not appropriately, So I love to, even in a personal way, share with people that maybe, there are certain etiquettes in dressing, and you dress up not for only for yourselves, but also for the person you're meeting, So I indulge in all those. Involve myself in all those smaller activities too. That keeps me alive.
That's really nice. And spoiler alert, we have Thrift Ensemble on the next podcast.
Yeah, my buddy. Yes.
So if you want to know more about classic menswear, he's the right person to stay tuned.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lichan.
Thank
It
you.
was such a wonderful time, learning from you. And like I say, I'm a great admirer of your work.
Thank you.
Thank you
Neha.
so
It's an
much.
encouragement.
Yeah, thank you so much on behalf of the youth, because what I see right now is a change in the process. We're so scared of change, but change comes from you and I.
Sure.
And you taking that path, you had everything stable. You had a job, you had a family, but you thinking, no, this is not what I want. I want to do something for my people. I want to give back. Is where it started. And thank you so much, for doing that. It's such a wonderful journey to see, and I'm sure that this brand will be a pioneer of not only Nagaland, but a pioneer brand for coffee in India. So thank you so much, and above that, also internationally. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Yeah. Ciao.